Glover, the FBI has released a new photo of Canadian fugitive Ryan Wedding. He's the former Olympic snowboarder accused of running a transnational drug trafficking ring. In the new photo, we see that his look is dramatically different from the 2013 headshot the FBI had previously published. Talia Ricci reports.
The new photo shows fugitive Ryan Wedding staring at a cell phone sitting at what appears to be a restaurant table. An FBI spokesperson told CBC News in a statement that agents believe the new photo was taken this year. The former athlete is seen with shorter hair and appears heavier than in the previously released photo.
The photos that were held before were 11 years old, a driver's license photo, and also, of course, photos from when he was in the Olympics. But there had not been any updated photos until this newest photo has come to light. The new photo may be able to help apprehend him as he does a border crossing.
He chose to become a major drug trafficker, and he chose to become a killer.
Last month, U.S. authorities announced that Wedding is charged with 8 felonies in California, including murder in connection with a continuing criminal enterprise and drug crime. Investigators allege his crime ring orchestrated at least 4 violent murders in Ontario in the past year.
The picture could reveal some indicators that will help us identify when and where, and maybe a trail that will lead to that guy on the run.
My father was shot in front of me. I heard my mother's last screams, and after that, it was complete silence.
Wedding faces murder charges for the November 2023 shooting deaths of Jagtar and Harbhajan Sidhu in Caledon. Their 28-year-old daughter, Jaspreet, was shot 13 times but survived. Investigators have said the family members were innocent and mistakenly targeted.
Every time my brother goes away from me, I'm scared for him.
Wedding has been on the run since at least 2015 when RCMP issued a warrant for his arrest. At the time, Mounties laid 5 charges against him in connection with cocaine imports and trafficking. According to court records, Wedding was seen in Mexico City in January when a longtime associate turned FBI cooperator met him and his second-in-command, Andrew Clark. Clark is a former Toronto landlord and was arrested a month ago in Mexico's Guadalajara area.
Notre Canadien maintenant, Ryan Wedding.
In 2002, Wedding competed for Canada in the Olympics in Salt Lake City.
There is several areas where facial recognition software is being used. And so the use of facial recognition software and an updated photo may very well help locate him.
A picture of that that is a little bit more updated or closer to today definitely help the general public to maybe identify the individuals.
It's believed that Wedding has been living under the protection of the Sinaloa cartel. The FBI tells CBC News it has been receiving some tips on the possible whereabouts of Wedding. It's offering a reward of up to $50,000 US for any information leading to his arrest. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
A man is recovering in hospital tonight after being shot in Scarborough earlier today in what police say was potentially a thwarted abduction. Toronto police say they've arrested 2 suspects after the 3 of them were involved in a collision. Ali Chiasson has that story.
It looks like just the scene of a car accident where a vehicle spins out, strikes another car, and that's it. But it's actually part of a larger, complex investigation into a shooting and potential abduction.
At approximately 4:43 a.m., police received a call from an individual reporting a concerning message they had received from a friend. Basically, the message contained a photograph where the victim was being threatened with a firearm. Officers got a lot of information and were able to determine a vehicle description. Officers responded to the area and were able to locate the subject vehicle. Officers attempted to stop this suspect vehicle, but it fled.
About 3 hours later and 10 kilometers away, that vehicle was involved in this collision. And responding officers were quickly able to connect it to the original call for help, the victim from the photograph, 2 suspects, and their guns.
Police quickly apprehended both suspects and 2 firearms were recovered. The 2 suspects both 17 and 19 years of age, received minor injuries and are getting treatment at the hospital. The victim was also located within the vehicle. The victim had suffered a gunshot wound and was transported to a trauma hospital.
The driver of the vehicle that was slammed into is an innocent bystander in all of this, and they were taken to hospital and being treated for minor injuries.
As you can imagine, it is a complex investigation, so I can't share much because we are actually gathering witness statements, gathering evidence.
And investigators will be looking to get that from the victim who was shot once they're well enough to tell police what happened. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Returning now to one of our top stories this week, that wild shootout in Queen West from earlier this week. Police say they seized several guns that night that were modified to make them way more dangerous. Tonight, Greg Ross is taking a closer look at what police call machine gun conversion devices and why they're so easy to get a hold of.
Nearly 100 rounds were fired during a shootout Monday night outside of a recording studio on Queen Street West. Police charged 8 people in connection with the gunfight and seized all of these guns. But 4 in particular stood out because of one small modification that made a huge difference.
The machine gun conversion devices are the little devices affixed to the rear of the slide of these handguns.
It's a device that was originally designed for use on BB guns, according to Stephen Howard, a gunsmith based in Michigan.
Somebody very quickly realized that if you do a little modifications, then they turned a Glock pistol into a machine gun.
Police say these devices make it possible for a pistol to unload more than 900 rounds per minute. But they also make it much more difficult to control the gun because of the intense recoil, which is why Howard is not surprised that nobody was actually hit in Monday's gun battle.
First round's going to be pretty much on target, and all the others are going to go over my head.
Police say the guns are being smuggled in from the U.S., but Howard says it's likely that they're not being modified until after they cross the border.
The penalty for a machine gun is far higher than a regular pistol.
He says the machine gun conversion devices are easier to get than the guns because they can be ordered online and shipped to Canada.
You can order them from China.
Without a gun, the conversion devices are useless, which is why today the Solicitor General of Ontario called on the federal government to do more to secure our borders.
You have to step up the inspections and the protocols at the borders, at the Port of Montreal, at the intermodals, and recognize that when we put measures in place to curb illegal guns from coming into our province or exiting our province to be circled back again to come back in, we will reduce the number of guns.
Toronto police say there have been more than 400 shootings and firearms discharges reported so far this year, which is already the highest we've seen in the past 4 years. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Ontario's Solicitor General also talked today about plans to make amendments to the province's sex offender registry. The government wants to ban sex offenders from changing their name. For that story, let's turn to Queen's Park reporter Lorenda Redekop.
Their 11-year-old son, Christopher Stevenson, was abducted from a mall in Brampton in 1988, sexually assaulted and murdered. It was his parents' advocacy that led to the sex offender registry, added in 2001.
Grief can turn off into anger. In our case, we were fortunate that our anger turned to optimism.
Now the province wants to make changes, including prohibiting those offenders from changing their name.
Christopher's law must be sharpened.
Ontario's Solicitor General says officers have said the current registry doesn't always help them with monitoring.
The Ontario Sex Offender Registry needs to be updated to respond to advancements in technology, including social media, which has become the recruitment tool of choice for human traffickers.
Other proposed changes include requiring offenders to report when they change their email address, social media accounts, or other digital identifiers, reporting to police after receiving a passport or driver's license, and having to provide 2 weeks' notice if they plan to travel outside the country for a week or more. Carla Homolka is the most well-known convicted sex offender who changed her name, the former wife of Paul Bernardo. The serial killer remains behind bars. The two were convicted of torturing and killing teenagers Kristen French and Leslie Mahaffey. Homolka served 12 years for manslaughter.
This will stop the Carla Homolkas of the world from becoming Leanne Teal.
The Stevensons' reaction to toughening Christopher's law?
It's meaningful in so many ways.
The Solicitor General says he'll be tabling new legislation to strengthen the registry soon. Lorenda Redecomp, CBC News, Toronto.
The fight over bike lanes between the Ford government and Toronto City Council geared up tonight. Councillors voting to move ahead with a plan to take away a lane of traffic to build a cycle track on Parkside Drive. Councillors think the redesign will make the stretch of road safer, but as Dale Manukduk explains, a lot is riding on whether the province agrees to the plan.
City Council is moving forward with a redesigned plan of Parkside Drive. It includes intersection safety improvements, new and updated bus stops, designated turning lanes at intersections, and a two-way cycle track.
We've been advocating for this for a very long time, so we're excited to see that it's progressing. It's unfortunate that it's been so slow and that it continues to be so slow, but at least things are progressing slowly but surely.
According to a staff report, in the last 10 years on Parkside Drive between Bloor Street West and Lakeshore Boulevard, there were 7 collisions that resulted in 5 serious injuries and 3 fatalities. And during that span, nearly 1,500 collisions. Those stats driven by narrow and missing sidewalks, lack of bikeways, excessive vehicular speeding, and aggressive driving.
I have never seen a more compelling case for bike lanes in the City of Toronto and for safety improvements for pedestrians, motorists, and cyclists. Parkside Drive will make the road safer for everybody.
A suite of safety measures are already in place on the roadway, but staff say it's not getting the job done. Council voted 19-7 in favor of moving the project forward, the holdouts asking the question on everyone's mind.
The province has made it quite clear through Bill 212 that they're going to pull out bike lanes that are built on roadways that negatively affect traffic flow. Is it prudent?
The design work is not exclusive to bike lanes, and my advice is right now, as we're waiting for the legislative language, that we don't want to stop all the work on roadways. We want to continue with some of that.
In a statement, the Ministry of Transportation says it will review the city's plan, writing in part, "We support a common sense approach when it comes to bike lanes, which does not include removing a lane of traffic in the most congested city in North America." Like some of the Toronto councillors, this advocate would like to see the Ontario government stay out of it.
We have elected our officials to do what we feel is best for our city, and that's exactly what they've been doing.
Whatever the final redesign plan ends up looking like is set to be installed at the start of 2026. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Council also approved a new renovations bylaw aimed at protecting tenants from bad landlords. So starting next summer, landlords will need a renovation license, including proof the tenant has to leave for the proposed work. They also have to provide moving allowances and compensation for people who choose not to return to their unit after the work is done. In Brampton, the city is now set to get moving again after a ratification vote tonight, officially ending a major strike that's impacted the city for over a week. It means good news for transit riders in Brampton, not because transit workers were on strike, but because it was one of many services impacted by the roughly 1,200 striking city workers. QP 831 had staged some picket lines in front of bus garages over the course of the strike. But after a deal on a new contract was reached this week, workers voted to ratify that agreement this evening. This paves the way for union members to get back to work as early as tomorrow morning. In sports, the Toronto Argos are heading to the Grey Cup.
It's been absolutely tremendous. Vancouver has done a tremendous job in promoting the weekend and putting all of the festivities and the activities all in one central spot. And Mother Nature has cooperated and given us a couple of sunny days when we weren't supposed to get them.
The Argos punched their ticket Monday, defeating defending champs, the Montreal Alouettes. On Sunday, Toronto takes to the field against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but they'll do so without quarterback Chad Kelly, still out with a broken ankle. Hey, welcome back. After a slow spring and a sluggish summer, Canada's housing market is showing signs of life, especially here in Toronto, where the days of low supply and epic bidding wars have been dramatically reduced. With a look at what may be behind the changing market, here is the CBC's Nisha Patel.
Just 10 days after a for sale sign went up, this Toronto house has sold.
Buyers have more choice. They have come back to the market stronger than it was in the summer. So the second floor sleeping quarters.
Realtor Josie Stern says the housing market is more balanced and buyers are in a better position than they were a few years ago.
They can negotiate on the price, which isn't something that is possible when there's a low supply market. They can negotiate their terms. They can finally put a condition on financing or inspection.
National home sales in October jumped 30% compared to a year ago. In major cities like Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal, sales have spiked by double digits. So the Bank of Canada's interest rate cuts may finally be having an impact as lower borrowing costs pull some buyers off the sidelines.
The numbers make sense for me at current interest rates. I felt comfortable, biting the bullet, taking the plunge.
Ozzy Osman has been renting for years, waiting for the right opportunity. He bought his first home in Montreal last month.
I'm doing it to put down roots for my family, and it's a pretty universal aspiration, homeownership, right? And I think a lot of the younger generation are feeling desperate and, feeling like they can't get that, and it's sad.
While home prices have moderated over the past 2 years, the average selling price these days is still nearly 30% higher compared to 2019.
Even though we have those new relaxed mortgage rules taking effect soon, we think it'll take a little bit more time before affordability is improved enough to allow a larger number of potential buyers to re-enter the market.
So for many Canadians, that dream of home ownership may still be out of reach. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to Ottawa, and an update for you on the renovation project of one of Canada's most important places. Construction teams say work on the Parliament buildings is on schedule and about a third of the way done. David Thurton took a tour.
Canada's largest restoration project 4 years in is deep into construction and about to enter another year. Much of the focus will soon be on this massive hole. Crews are getting ready to install more construction cranes.
The tower cranes will allow us to move and install material within the excavations.
Those cranes will help build the new Welcome Center at the base of the Peace Tower. When it's complete, the new center will look like this: a sprawling underground space with enough capacity to welcome 750,000 visitors annually, double the current capacity. While plans are unfolding for those discovering Parliament Hill for the first time, restoration crews are discovering original elements in this room that were hidden under layers of paint.
Right before move-out, the ceiling was white, and based on architectural paint research, we've been able to identify it was in fact gilded for gold, so that will be reinstated.
Crews hope to restore rooms like the Speaker's dining room to its original look. Meanwhile, masons are restoring century-old brickwork.
It's a very important finish.
This buffalo will also replace stonework that was damaged and beyond repair.
I'm very proud to have worked on this stone. This isn't the sort of thing that we get on our workbenches very often. We're born 100 years too late for that.
According to officials, this massive project is still on budget and still on time, but it's going to be a while before construction wraps up. Cinderblock won't open to the general public for at least another 8 years. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Night one of Taylor Swift's swing through Toronto is in the books, and the reviews are already pouring in. No surprise, hardcore Swifties loved it, but did it live up to the hype? Our entertainment reporter was up close during last night's show, and coming up, we'll hear directly from him about the atmosphere inside the Rogers Centre and why Swift says she chose Canadian cities for the final leg of her Eras tour. That story and more is coming up next. Chris Potter is here now with a look at weather. And Chris, you were saying the sun is coming back tomorrow. Yeah. We finally get a bit of sunshine.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will take advantage, either just getting outside.
Maybe
Well, they'll have to because it's not going to be there for long, right?
No, that's the thing. I mean, it's going to be relatively mild tomorrow. We're going to see a lot of sunshine. The winds will be light. Great opportunity to get out and enjoy with the kids. Maybe do some yard work, maybe rake some leaves, or maybe, as my son wants me to do, finish cutting down a tree in my backyard. He's going to supervise. Don't worry, folks. I'm not going to let him see or get anywhere near this chainsaw, but he's going to supervise and go, do that one, Daddy.
I want footage of that.
I'll do it. Maybe I'll share it next week.
Do it.
So we'll talk about the almanac first. 7.1, that's the normal daytime high for this time of year. The record high, 19.3. That would have been nice today. Minus 0.5 is the normal overnight low. We were obviously above that last night. We actually stalled in the mid-single digits, but daytime highs didn't really pop up much past 8 to 9 degrees. That was basically the scenario across the board. 11 in Windsor, 9 in Ottawa, 8 in the city. Lots of cloud cover, northwesterly winds. Not much in terms of active weather across the board right now, with the exception of this cloud cover. Low pressure continues to wander off towards the east very rapidly. High pressure continues to build in. And with this is going to continue to clear out that cloud cover through the overnight. Lots of sunshine for tomorrow morning. And with high pressure in place, lots of sunshine for the afternoon, light northerly winds. It's going to be a gorgeous day to get out and enjoy. You got to keep in mind, it's mid-November, though. We're talking about daytime highs near 12, which doesn't seem that dramatic. But once again, the normal daytime high is 7. Once we get into Sunday, we start to cloud over. High pressure wanders off towards the southeast, moving off towards the mid-Atlantic states. We become mostly cloudy, but it's still going to be dry through the daytime hours. Temperatures still in the double digits. Once we get towards the midnight hour, we get into a quick wave of passing showers that will quickly wander off towards the east. High pressure then returns, another area moving in through the upper Great Lakes, and that will stabilize the weather for Monday. Lots of sunshine. Once again, it's a fair weather day with lots of cloud cover over eastern Ontario, but no rain. In terms of the winds, they're fairly light right now, coming in from the northwest. Northerly winds do indeed continue for the afternoon and into the evening for tomorrow, but they will be light, especially during the afternoon and evening, so wind's not an issue. Overnight lows around 0 for Ottawa, 3 in Windsor, 4 towards Toronto, and daytime highs will generally be in the double digits in most communities, anywhere from 10 to 13 degrees, so it's not well into the double digits, but the double digits nonetheless, Chris. 11 for you on Sunday. Once we get into Monday, we get back into that sunshine, highs near 13. 10 for us on Tuesday will become mostly cloudy, chance of evening showers, and on and off showers at this point expected for Wednesday with a high near 11. So it's a great weekend for outside activities. Please get out there and enjoy some free vitamin D because, you know, the days are getting shorter. Sun rises later and it sets earlier. That's all the way until the winter solstice, which is December 21st. Shortest night.
Who doesn't like a nice Saturday? All right, thank you so much for joining us and have a great weekend, everybody.